What's good, everybody? You already know who it is, man. It's your boy, TheWavMan, man. And we're back today, and I'm gonna be showing you guys what it takes to get a vocal that sounds like this.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright.
So let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to getting that full, present, just focused vocal sound in your entire mix is to actually think about it as the entire mix. When I go into mixing vocals, I'm thinking about it in its entirety. How does that vocal sound at the end? This is a process. That full, perfect vocal sound is going to take place in its entirety from the mixing to the mastering phase. So I'm going to actually step by step show you guys some key techniques and key philosophies that I like to go through when I'm building this actual vocal out, from the mixing, the cleanup phase to that mastering mix bus phase. Let's get right into this. Bang, dang, dang, you know who it is, man. Let's get it. So as you guys can see on the screen right now, we have our main vocal right here. So looking at our main vocal, we're going to be looking at this track right here. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have about 4 different effects on this track, and then we're sending these vocals off to our aux. Okay. This aux right here, where most of our vocal processing is happening. But I first want to start on this right here, because this is a very important part, at least to me, which is kind of like that cleanup phase. Okay. But this cleanup phase can happen either in the beginning, or it can happen while I'm actually mixing the actual vocal here, okay? Because what happens is, say I'm actually getting to EQing the vocal and I'm compressing the vocal and I start to hear things that I need to clean up, okay? Then I might come back to the actual track and start cleaning it up. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and start listening to what I had to clean up in this vocal.
Oh, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hear my line?
All right, now, if you were listening to that vocal, what is the first thing that you heard? Go ahead and comment that down right now, okay? Now, if you've heard the same thing that I'm hearing the actual bleed from the headphones while the artist was recording. Shout out my guy Saint from SC. So let's go ahead and listen to that one more time, and then we'll show you how we are kind of processing that.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do, guys, is this cleanup phase. Now, why is this cleanup phase important? Because a lot of times we're not, like I said, using the right proper headphones. Maybe the volume is turned up too loud, so we need to start cleaning these things out of here. So one of my favorite plugins that I like to just throw on every track that needs this type of cleanup is this plugin here that I like. It's called Clear. It's from a company named Supertone. Now, this is kind of using algorithmic type of processes, but basically, as you can see, we have the ambience here, we have the voice here, and we have the voice reverb here. So say you're actually in a room and it's capturing a lot of your room and it's getting the room's reverb. Well, we can simply mute this out, or we can actually take it down. All right, same with the ambience, and then this is the voice itself. So in this case, what I just simply do a lot of the times is go ahead and mute out the ambience, and I like to mute out the voice reverb. So we're going to start off with this clear, and like I said, we took off the ambience and the reverb. Now, the next thing that I did on this actual track here was actually got rid of some of the noise that I found was peeking in as I was processing the vocals. So let's go ahead and listen to what this sounded like, okay?
Reach inside my pocket, see the light. Shift, oh, I'm way too bright.
Let's go ahead and move this up, okay? Let's move this up so you can hear what I was actually hearing. Okay, so it's kind of like a ringing noise, okay? So that ringing noise was solo just there, but I actually went and dragged that down because we wanted to take some of that bad metallic-y sounds that we were getting through this microphone that was really popping out as we were processing this vocal. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, the same thing with this up here in the 5300 hertz range right here. I found that same type of sound as well. So around the 3000 range and the 5300 hertz range, we wanted to take out those 2 frequencies, because what ended up happening was it started to round out a lot more. And I'll play this actually when we start to get into the actual full processing. But this is the cleanup phase, and we're just getting rid of the things that we want to get rid of before.
What if I told you a simple drag and drop can have your music sounding like this?
Just let me know when you're ready. You right about that, keep it steady. I make sure you K like I'm heady.
Or like this?
Had to hop up out that whip, I had to cop me some courage. You was driving in that lamb, I was whipping in that yours.
Or like this?
Honey, you say my mind's out just in case I
like this.
What kind of lady you are? I swear you shine like a star. I bet your mama was a freak. Me and your daddy was a ball player for sure.
I'm sure you get it by now. Now, if you're trying to save money, time, and actually get the sound that you're looking for, the TheWavMan vocal presets are exactly for you. Now, these presets come in a bunch of different DAWs like FL Studios, Logic, Pro Tools, Studio One, GarageBand, you name it, it's there in both waves and stock versions. That means you don't have to have a bunch of extra plugins for it to work for you. And psst, once you get it, it's yours forever. So if you're trying to level up your sound and get your vocal quality right, head to TheWavMan.com and let's make them hits.
You start processing the vocals, you're gonna start hearing a lot of these unwanted frequencies, these unwanted artifacts, and we wanted to take these out. So we did that on this level. And of course, we went with our regular auto tuning and we went ahead and put the actual RVox on the channel, because why I did that, I put the RVox on the channel to bring more presence to the vocal in general. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that, and I'll play these back like I said when we get into the processing phase, which we're gonna do right now. But right there is what I kind of call that cleanup and setting the stage. So with all those effects though, this is what it sounds like with the vocal.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine, hit that night shift, oh I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type niggas? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe. I ain't picking that shit up unless I catch a vibe.
Okay, so we're starting to get to the point that we want to get to, but we're not quite there yet. Now what I'm going to do is show you how I actually go about toning this vocal, how I want it to sound when it's sitting in this mix, in conjunction, better word, in conjunction with this, because we're not trying to separate this. We want this vocal to fall right in line with what the music is actually doing. So let's go ahead and show you how we actually totally shape this thing, right? We try to get this thing plastic surgery, so we try to get in there deep. So let's go ahead and show you how we're doing this thing. All right, let's get it. So the first thing, as you guys can see, we have a simple de-esser, nothing special. Let's go ahead and apply that, and as you can see, we have an EQ here. Now all we're doing in the EQ is kind of shaping out this vocal. So let's listen to this vocal without the EQ and with the EQ. Let's listen to it.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine, hit that night shift, oh I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type niggas? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe. I ain't picking that shit up unless I catch a vibe. Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine, hit that night shift, oh I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type niggas? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga.
Okay, so as you can hear, it's really cleaning up that vocal, getting rid of a lot of that unwanted body that we're looking for, and just trimming that vocal down. Okay, we're trying to get it in shape. We're trying to give it that real tight sound. So let's go into the next thing. Now I went into using the virtual mix rack from Slate Digital, because what I was looking for with this compressor was not looking for nothing too strong, too gritty, nothing way too upfront. So I'm not going to use a 1176 style compressor. What I went with is actually the FG2A, which is a CLA2A emulation. So what I was more looking for was more of a smoother tone sounding compressor, more of an opto compressor, and we went with that right here. So as you can see, we're not taking too much out of it when we're doing the compression.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light.
Okay, or anywhere from 3 to 5 dB gain reduction. And then as you can see, I actually added kind of this distressor type of compressor here, because I did want a little bit of grit, right? So this distressor is really good because it adds a little bit of that distortion in there. As you can see, we're choosing the distortion setting too. But what's really dope about this compressor, and how I like to think about compression, is actually giving us a tonality, right? It's giving us a texture. So what I was looking for was a little bit of character, but I didn't want too much character to stand outside of this, because it's kind of like a floaty, nice melodic track. So I wanted to keep it relatively smooth, but I did want it to have some character. So we added this distressor right here, just smoothing out this vocal as well while giving it some character. So we added those two. So when you're thinking about compressors, start to understand the job of a compressor, of course, to control the dynamics, but as well as what does that compressor sound like and what is it doing to that vocal. So let's go ahead and listen to the vocal with just the FG2A. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine, hit that night shift, oh I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type
Okay, sounding really smooth, meshing with the track. And let's go ahead and hear it with the FG stress right here. And just listen to the tone, the texture that it gives the vocals in comparison with the track. Let's go ahead.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe.
So if you can listen really closely, if you have headphones, if you're listening on your speakers, you're gonna hear that little bit of grit, that little bit of edge we're getting by adding this compressor on the back end. So that's why we did that. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you this multi-band compressing move that I like to do on vocals, which you've probably seen a lot of people do, but it's basically kind of trimming out some of that low, because what happens is when you start speaking into the mic, naturally what's going to happen is the mic is going to add more volume to frequencies than other frequencies. So when more of that frequency is pronounced, right? So in this case, I had we had the artist had picked up a lot of those low mids of frequencies. So what I'm going to be doing is taking some of those low mid frequencies out to kind of make sure that this vocal is a little bit more tight. We're not trying to trim it out too much, right? Because we still want the vocal to have body, but we don't want it to be overbearing to where it sounds muddy. So we want to kind of compress a little bit more. So as you can see right here, from about 170 hertz to about 500, which is 478, we're hearing this frequency.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga.
Okay, so that's with the multi-band compressor taking it out. Let's listen to it without it, okay? And we'll turn it on and off.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga.
Okay, so we're not doing too much. We're just trimming it up a little bit more, making it a little bit more tighter, giving us a more punchier, a more solid sounding vocal, okay? The next thing that we went ahead and did was a simple compression, nothing special. We're using the R compressor and we're just gonna apply that, okay? Now, the next thing that I like to do is use a decapitator. Now, why do I like to use a decapitator in particular? Now, why do I like this decapitator? Because it kind of helps me round out and get the tone that I'm looking for even more specifically than probably any other tool in this actual vocal chain. So now we have the different styles here. Okay, so in this case, I chose this E style. And what I also like to do is choose the tone. Now we can go dark or we can go bright. Now, a lot of times, a lot of beginners, this is where they go wrong. They have a super bright vocal and we want the vocal to, of course, be present, yes, but we do not want it to be overbearing or hard on the ears. So I like this a lot because we can kind of mix in some saturation, but also mix in the actual tone of the saturation that we want to give to this vocal. We went a little bit more on the darker side because I wanted it to kind of fit and mesh in and not stand out too much within the mix. Okay, so let's hear how this sounds.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas.
And to not introduce too much artifacts or too much saturation, we made sure to mix this in to about 10%. It looks like about 15%. We just wanted to blend it in very nicely, and that's what we got here. Now, adding on to that tone shaping, we went ahead and got this EQ, the PewTech EQ, which is another emulation of a hardware piece. And what I like to do is I like to basically boost in the high end. So what we're doing is we're boosting the frequency in the 10K range. So I basically do this to get more diction. So listen to the vocal without it and listen to the vocal with it and listen to the diction, the clarity that comes in the vocal with this plugin.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe. I ain't picking that shit up unless I catch you right. My left.
I know you heard the clarity introduced when we added a little bit of that high end in such a subtle but sweet way. Nothing too harsh on the ears, but just a nice diction high end to increase that diction in the vocal clarity. So we added that. I'm gonna show you how to take your song from this.
Honey, you save my time just in case that
To this.
Honey, you save my time just in case that I need ya. Honey,
to do is head to TheWavMonopoly.com. Now, if you're tired of wasting your time and money and you're ready to have studio quality vocals, then this is exactly what you're looking for. These vocal presets are designed to get you the sound that you're looking for in literally just a few clicks. No gatekeeping, no overcomplicated tutorials. These vocal presets literally put you in the driver's seat of your music career. So if you're ready to level up your sound and get that vocal quality you're looking for, head to TheWavMonopoly.com and let's make the mix.
Now, for the most part, at the end of all my vocal chains, I like to have a soothe 2, okay? Basically something to kind of smooth over everything that I've introduced in a nice way to where it doesn't take away the clarity and presence that I added into the track. So simply what we do is use Soothe 2, which is a plugin that actually kind of algorithmically takes out the harshness in vocals. They have a lot of presets actually in this plugin that is very, very well suited. But whenever I use a preset in this plugin, just to give us a starting place, I like to take back the depth of it so that we're not taking away the integrity of the vocal. Let's go ahead and listen to it without and with.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Get that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe.
Now, I know you can hear exactly what that plugin did, and it's an amazing thing that I find at the end of my vocals always, just to get that cleanup that we're looking for. Now that we've done all this processing to the vocal, there's another step that I like to take just to make sure I have my vocal sitting exactly where I want it to sit while still holding its presence, okay? So I know you just heard what that Soothe did. Amazing plugin. It just cleaned up everything that we needed to clean up from all of our processing, but now I have this actual aux, or we can look at it at this stage. I actually have this aux where we did all the processing going to a vocal finalizer, okay? And that's what I'm calling it in this case, a vocal finalizer. So basically in this case, I'm using my Mag EQ, okay? This is from Plugin Alliance, and this is just like any plugin that you can use from Waves, which I like to use when I'm using Waves is like the TheWavMan plugin, okay? But in this case, I'm gonna be using this Mag EQ because it has an amazing 40 hertz band that I just love to use. It just adds that top end sparkle without adding harshness. And let's just go ahead and add this on top of the vocal, okay? So this is basically all I do in this plugin for the most part in this specific vocal is threw up this air band, okay, because I want to add that top end sparkle, and I just pushed it up so that we can actually get that tonage. So let's go ahead and listen to the final stage of the vocal in the mixing phase. But like I said, we're not done with the vocals until we are at least messing with that mix bus, because that's where I find we're getting that full sound, the entirety. Like I said, we're thinking about the vocals in the entirety of the song creation process, okay? So let's go ahead and listen to it, this Mag.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga. I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe.
Super dope plugin and super simple move we just did in the 40K hertz range, right? Is there a 40K hertz that we can hear? I don't know, but it sound good, right? They say trust your ear. Now, this next part that we're gonna be speaking about is the vocal effects, okay? And how I like to think about them. Now, when we're sending to our reverbs, our doublers, our delays, our vocal effects, anything that is going into that vocal effects type of route, guys, I like to really bust these things out when I can. If I have to, and when I'm working on some things, I do like to bust them out because it gives us a little bit more control over the actual effect, okay? We have the reverb running to this verb bus or aux, whatever you want to call it. But we have the Valhalla reverb. As you guys can see, we're using the Valhalla reverb, and we're really want to, you know, when we're thinking about a reverb, the first thing that I like to think about is how clear or how drowned it out, or the perception of up front or behind do I want this vocal to seem. Now, when I'm thinking about that, the number one things that I'm thinking about is pre-delay, okay? Now, with pre-delay, what pre-delay basically is how fast that vocal is hitting and how much delayed is that reverb starting after that vocal hits. So if we have a pre-delay of 0, as soon as that vocal hits, that reverb is instantly hitting with it, okay? So it could probably sound further away because it's more drowned out. It could be more drowned out. Now, if we have a vocal hitting before, right? So say we have a pre-delay of 69 milliseconds, that vocal is hitting 69 milliseconds before that reverb is even being heard. So when we're thinking about giving the vocal some clarity, we want it to have some space between each other. That is something that you definitely do want to pay attention to when it comes to having the clarity in your vocal. So because this is a rap vocal and I don't want to drown this out, we're going to have a pre-delay of 69 milliseconds, which is good for me in this track. It feels right. And then we're going to have a decay time of 2.8 seconds. And what a decay time is basically how long that reverb actually lasts. Okay. So we want it to be a pretty nice full reverb that gives us that ambience to fill out that track, but we don't want it drowning it out. So we're adding that in with this bus. So this is actually how we're adding that in. But on top of having this reverb here, we actually went ahead and curved out the actual tone that we want for the reverb. So let's go ahead and listen to this reverb right now without and with this EQ engaged.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line, nigga.
Okay, I know you exactly heard what this actual EQ is doing to this reverb, okay? Now, what I find is when a lot of beginners are getting into mixing vocals, what happens is we get a lot of these metallic, digitally sounding records and we're wondering why, but a lot of times it could be because of these little things, because you have to understand as the mix is going on, if we're introducing too much high end, if we're getting too much sparkle from this reverb, this is gonna accumulate and it's gonna cause an effect in the overall totality of the track. And like I said, we like to think of it, or I like to think about it as a totality, right? Not a thing by itself, but the entire mix together. So that's what we're using this EQ for, and we're using this to blend in how much reverb, right? So we're using this aux, this bus, to blend in how much reverb we want onto the vocals. Then we're gonna have this width here, which is a doubler that we're liking to use. And with that same thing that I just showed you that we did with the reverb, we're gonna do with this doubler as well. So there's lots of different things you can do with this, right? So we have the doubler here, but on the back end, what do we have here? Another carving EQ. And this is doing the same thing. And this is how I like to process the vocals. Okay, we get into a really, and this can go super deep, right? You can go crazy with this type of stuff. Like say if you have a doubler and you wanted to add a vocal bender, you could add the vocal bender in the doubler and have a crazy sounding vocal, right? So let's go ahead and first just show you what's going on with the doubler and the vocal itself.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright.
Right? So we're adding width into the vocal, okay? So let's turn that down.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright.
But like I said, with the processing that we're doing on the vocal buses and the vocal auxes, what we can do, we can go crazy with this type of stuff, right? So say we want to add different effects to it. Let's go ahead and add this vocal bender and this doubler, and let's give it a deeper type of sound.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collect?
Right, now that might not be something that I actually do on this vocal, but I just want to kind of show you the type of things that you can start to create when you start using auxes and start to use these effects more independently. EQ on this doubler was to kind of take out some of that metallic sound. So let's go ahead and show you guys that again.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hit my line.
Okay, so we're just taking away some of that extra sparkly sounding just to keep it a solid vocal, and we're gonna blend that in how we want it to blend in.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light, or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type?
So let's move on to the final stage in getting a full, strong presence sounding vocal. Let's go ahead to the mix bus or the master, and let's go ahead and show you a couple things that I like to do to make sure that I have a solid sounding vocal. Let's go ahead. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just move up my master fader just to keep it around the vocals just for now, for tutorial purposes, but I basically want to show you a couple things of how I get that full sounding vocal. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the compressor that you choose has a great sound on your vocals. Now, in this case, I'm using the Shadow Hills compressor, mastering compressor, which is a emulation of a Shadow Hill compressor, which is a very sought after compressor. But what this basically does to your vocal is it's going to give you a full sounding vocal because the tubes and the electronics that are in this actual hardware that's being emulated. So this is going to give you another tone. So when I'm thinking about vocals full, I'm thinking about an SSL comp. I'm thinking about those type of bus compressors. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear without and with.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hear my line?
Now, I know you're starting to hear what I mean when I say in totality. This is what I mean. You're not done with the vocals until the whole song is done, okay? Now, let me go ahead and show you one of my favorite tricks that I like to do when it comes to pulling out some of that mid-range to get some more fullness or presence or clarity, more fullness and body to that vocal, okay? Now, as you can see, we're using the FabFilter Pro MB, okay? So what's different and what you probably don't usually see is what's going on right now in here, okay? Now, usually what you'll probably see a person using this for is the compression, okay? But instead, I'm using this in the expand mode. So what does that mean? That means that I want to pull out some of the frequencies. So in this case, I'm doing this on the entire song, the entire master. So I want to pull out some of that mid-range frequencies that's going to capture, of course, the entirety of the music, but as well as going to pull out some of those vocals as well. So let's go ahead and bypass this and listen to how this sounds to the vocal and what this sounds like and what this is doing to the vocal. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Niggas attitude on selfish addict, don't you hear my line? I don't even use my ringer.
Okay, so I'm sure that you're hearing just that subtle boost in clarity and bringing up that mid-range out into that vocal a lot more. And this is what I'm meaning when I'm saying in totality of the actual mix. And next but not least, I have to show you guys the Ozone Imager. Now, this is kind of like that final stage that I like to get the fullness and the width and that big sounding vocal I get from this Ozone Imager, okay? Now, the amazing part about this Ozone Imager is that you can use different frequencies and boost different frequencies in different ways. You can make it more mono or you can give it more width. So what I like to do is from about 60 to 50 hertz, I like to separate those subs or those low ends and bring those down and bring those mono, because a lot of times what you're gonna find is people on YouTube, when they have these 808s, they have these drums. Some people will spread out drums, pan the drums, spread them out, like I said, and we wanna center those drums because the low end, you're gonna wanna have more down the center of your track. But to get an exciting vocal, what I like to do is go about 11K and start to move a lot of that high end to the sides to start getting that stereo width. And then we kind of get our high frequencies, our high mids, or just highs, really, just a subsection down. I like to push those up as well. And then with our mid-range frequencies, I like to give it a little bit of width as well. So let me go ahead and play this without and with, and you're gonna see the effect that this is gonna give our overall track and our vocals to just sound huge and present and just expensive. Let's get into it. Without.
Reach inside my pocket, see the light or a shine. Hit that night shift, oh, I'm way too bright. I don't owe you, why you calling like collections type? Attitude on selfish addict, don't you hear my line? I don't even use my ringer, I just let it vibe. I ain't picking that shit up unless I catch a vibe.
So as you guys can see, this is how we go about getting our vocal sounding amazing, strong, present, full bodied in the entirety of the song. We don't get this just in a mixing phase, how to mix beautiful vocal. No, you're gonna get that entire vocal sound that you're looking for from the entire stage of the process of mixing and mastering the song. So you already know who it is, man. It's your boy, TheWavMan, man. And we out here. You already know what time it is, man. I'll see you guys in the next video.